Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at a trigonometric situation where we have a right angle triangle. And this is called SOH CAH TOA. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at how we actually label a triangle and then apply it. So the very first thing we need to check is that our triangle is a right angle, and we can tell from this little symbol here that this one is. And then we're going to have a specific angle we're focusing on. In this case, I'm going to call it theta. If you're not familiar, this is just a variable. This is just saying, I don't know what number this is, but we can find it. So, this is my angle of focus. I then have to label the sides. There's three different options that they could be. They could be the hypotenuse, they could be the opposite, or they could be the adjacent. So, to find the hypotenuse, the easiest way to do it is if you find that right angle, it's going to be directly across. So this is the longest side as well, and it's the one that's slanted. So let's just label that with an H. Okay, our other two options are opposite and adjacent. So when we think of the word opposite, we think it's opposite of something. So in this case, since we're looking at this angle, the opposite is going to be the side opposite of the angle. So this is O. Finally, adjacent means it's going to be the one right beside the angle, and as we can see, this is the side that the angle's on, and it's not a hypotenuse, so it's going to be adjacent. Okay, so final thing that we're going to do is the reason that we have this word SOH CAH TOA is because it helps remind us what the different kind of little formulas are. So this is saying that sine of an angle is actually equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. Cos theta is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And tan theta is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Okay, so let's put this into practice. So if I take a look at this first triangle here, they're telling us that they want us to find x. Right away we can tell that it's a right angle triangle, so now we need to label it. So to start off, this is the angle we're going to be focusing on because we're told that it's 32 degrees. So let's label our hypotenuse. Well, if we look directly across, our H is going to be where the X is, so that's our hypotenuse. Our adjacent is right here, and our opposite is all the way on the other side. And now what we need to do is we need to figure out whether we're going to use cos, tan, or sine. And we can do this by knowing we need X, which is H, and we know A. So what are we going to work with that we have A and H? Well, if we look back up, we can see that cos uses A and H. Okay, so we're going to have cos of theta, which is our angle, which we actually know, so it's going to be cos of 32. And it's going to equal our A over H. So A was 10.9, and H is actually just X, we don't know. So this is what it looks like. Now what we need to do is we need to get X by itself. How we can do that is by cross multiplying. If I bring this down and the X up, we're going to have this. X is equal to 10.9 all over 32, cos of 32. And now we can plug this in our calculator, which I'm going to show you on a calculator. So the first one we're looking at was X is equal to 10.9 times cos of 32. So to put that in your calculator, if you have something similar to me, you're going to have a sine, cos, and tan button. So you're just going to do 10.9, and then you're going to divide it by cos of 32. Then equal, and you should get 12.85. We're going to end up with X is equal to 12.85. Good way for me and you to just kind of quickly check is look at the numbers you already were given, 10.9. Does that make sense that x is 12.85? And it does, especially since it's a bit longer. Okay, next example, same idea. So we know that this is the angle that we're working with. Let's see if we can label it. Well, hypotenuse is across from our right angle. So this is our hypotenuse. Our opposite is all the way touching nothing. And our adjacent is the other side directly with the angle. Same idea, we need to ask ourselves, are we going to use cosine or tan? Well, we know what h is. We know we need what a is. So once again, we need a and h, which gives us cos. Same idea, cos of theta. So in this case, our angle we know is 71 is equal to a over h, which is x over 211.1. Now we always need to get x by itself, so how can we do this? Well, right now this is being divided, so we're going to bring that over and multiply. So we have cos of 71 multiplied by 211.1, and that's going to give us x. So once again, I'm just going to show that on a calculator. This last one's a little bit different. So we have the inverse tan. So in most calculators, above our sine, cos, and tan button, you'll see that there's a little sine to the -1, cos to the -1, and tan to the -1 on top. So to get those, you can see that they're yellow. So that means you're going to push shift, and then you can push either cos, and we're going to get x is equal to 68.7. Perfect. So we're going to do one more example that's a little bit different. In this case, we're told that this is the angle we're working with, it's theta. We have no idea what it actually is. So it's the same thing, we're going to label our triangle. This is our hypotenuse across from the right angle, adjacent right by that angle, and opposite all the way on the other side. Now if we look, well, the question is, what sides do I use? Well, I need to know two things. So I know what O is and I know what A is. And then this will be our unknown. So if I need O and A, I can look back up and I'll know that we're going to be working with tan. Okay. So let's see. If we have tan of theta, in this case, I don't know what theta is. So I'm actually just going to write it like this. And tan is opposite over adjacent. So it's 400 over 200. Now, I need to still get theta by itself. What's a little different about this one is I have to bring tan to the other side. And what happens when I do that is I actually get what's called the inverse of tan, or tan to the -1. And it looks like this. And I'm going to show you guys how to put that in your calculator and where to find it. And you're going to plug this in, and that will equal theta. So this last one's a little bit different. So we have the inverse tan. So in most calculators, above our sine, cos, and tan button, you'll see that there's a little sine to the -1, cos to the -1, and tan to the -1 on top. So to get those, you can see that they're yellow. So that means you're going to push shift, and then you can push either cos, sine, or tan, and you'll see to the -1. In this case, we had inverse tan, so tan to the -1, and then we have in brackets, I'm going to do 400 divided by 200. And that's because that whole number was beside tan. I can push equal, and I get 63.49 or 63.435. Theta is going to be equal to 63.4, and you can always kind of double check, does that make sense for an angle? And it does. All right, so feel free to subscribe and take a look at some other math videos or topics that you may be covering in school right now.